Chapter 4 Staff Meeting and Sunday. Half a year passed. Eris, who I thought had finally cooled down, began returning to her violent ways. Why? How? Who did this? I panicked, until I realized something. She had been given no breaks. It was after dinner when I called Ghislaine and the etiquette teacher to my room. The etiquette teacher didn't actually live with us. She lived in the city, so I had a butler send a message to her. "First, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Rudius Greyrat," I said. "Edna Lunin. I teach Lady Eris about proper etiquette." I touched my hand to my chest and gave a light nod. She responded in kind, her movements more polished. Unsurprising, coming from an etiquette teacher. Edna had the face of a middle-aged woman whose wrinkles were just beginning to show. Her features were soft, and she had a kind smile that emanated warmth. "Please have a seat," I said, motioning to nearby chairs. Once they settled in, I offered them tea that I had the butler prepare. "The reason I called you here today is to talk about Eris's lesson schedule." "Lesson schedule?" Edna asked. "That's right. I hear she currently has sword practice in the mornings, free time in the afternoon, and etiquette in the evening. Is that correct?" "Indeed." Eris was currently learning 6 subjects: reading and writing, arithmetic, magic, history, swordplay, and etiquette. In modern terms, that would be language, math, home economics, social studies, physical education, and, well, etiquette. There were no clocks, so lessons stretched on, separated only by meals and snack time. The subjects were split over 3 time periods like this: breakfast, studying; lunch, studying; snack time, studying; dinner, free time. There was no history instructor, so Philip apparently taught her in his free time. Since I came on, she began having evening lessons as well, so her entire day's been filled up," I said. "That's right," Edna responded. "Her studies have been progressing smoothly. The master is quite pleased." No doubt he was. "It may look like it's going smoothly, but there's a problem here." Edna looked confused. "A problem, you say?" "Yes. Her stress has been building since the studies every day without any breaks. Remarkably so during arithmetic lessons. She was irritable the entire time. If she ran into difficult problems, she would take it out on me. It was dangerous. There was no telling when she might come after me for real. It was very dangerous. We managed to get through it for now, but she might eventually snap and run from her lessons again." "Oh dear." Edna pressed her hand to her lips. Her expression said she acknowledged the possibility. I had never seen one of her etiquette lessons before, but Eris seemed to take them seriously. It was a mystery to me why Eris seemed to like her. I continued. "So I would like to give her a day free of lessons every 7 days." They had a calendar in this world, so they had a concept of what a month and what a day is. They did not, however, have the concept of a week. There were rest days allotted throughout the year, but there was no such thing as a Sunday. 7. I used the number because I could remember it easily. Plus, it seemed the number that was special in this world as well. It was said to be a good omen, which was why there were also 7 tiers in swordplay. In the remaining 6 days, we'll continue to teach her reading, writing, arithmetic, magic, history, swordplay, and etiquette. Edna raised her voice. May I ask one thing? Please do. If things are divided that way, then my lessons would be reduced. So then would my salary also. I cut her off before she could finish. You don't have to worry about that. I couldn't blame her for being concerned about money, and I hoped no one else would either. After all, I was in this for the money as well. Anyway, I had already spoken to Philip, and it wasn't a problem. We had monthly salaries, so we'd get paid regardless of whether we gave lessons or not. Granted, we'd be fired if we didn't. That part should go without saying. If you didn't understand something that simple, you deserved to be fired. Of course, with that in mind, we'll divide things differently. There should be no problem having just 2 lessons on reading, writing, and arithmetic in a 7-day period. Sword practice will remain daily affair, as there's no point otherwise. Magic must be practiced daily as well, but there's a limit to how much mana a person has, so each lesson won't take too long. I intend to dedicate any extra time that leaves to reading, writing, and arithmetic. That last bit we had been doing from the beginning, such as, today you've used water bullet X number of times and water splash Y number of times. So how many more times can you use water bullet today? I changed the values of X and Y in keeping with the number of times Eris and Ghislaine could perform those spells respectively. Apparently, this was easier for Eris than sitting in a room staring at the digits on paper. It was difficult to find a precise answer because mana usage wasn't something tangible, even to the practitioner. The important part was performing mental arithmetic, because the more they did it, the better they would get. The whole point was for them to use their heads. I wanted to do lessons on voiceless casting and home economics eventually, but that would wait until they had finished reading, writing, and arithmetic. My apologies in advance, Miss Edna, but I would like to reduce your lessons with Eris to 3 or 4 times a month. All right, she nodded quickly. 6 days, 18 periods. I split them thus. Etiquette, 5 periods. Swordplay, 6 periods. Reading and writing, 2 periods. Arithmetic, 2 periods. And magic, 3 periods. Lesson periods were a bit short for my taste, but most of it was repetition, so it should be fine. Also, I added, at any point you can't teach a lesson, I would like you to contact me. To what end? Edna asked. I'm always here at the manor, so I can fit my lessons into your time slot. If you need an extended period off, there'll be no problem. All right, then, Edna smiled the entire time. Did she really understand? Also, I would like to have these meetings at every first of the month, I said. And why is that? If we work together, we can come up with a quick response to any issues that may occur. It's not strictly necessary, but it will make our teaching more effective and help us deal with emergencies. Do you have any issues with it? No, Edna smiled softly. You are still so young, Lord Rudius, yet you are so considerate to Miss Eris. Her eyes shone as though she had seen something particularly endearing. Well, whatever. That was how I managed to get myself a day off. Finally, my first day off arrived. After greeting Philip briefly, I decided to head into the city, but I found Ghislaine and Eris lying in wait for me at the exit. Where do you think you're going? Eris seemed restless. Perhaps because it was her first day off. Her first ever day with an empty schedule. No wonder she was curious what my plans were for the day. I'm going sightseeing around Roa, I said, striking a pose. Sightseeing? So you're going to see the city? By yourself? Do I look like I have someone else with me? That's not fair. I haven't ever been able to go out by myself, not even once. She stomped her feet in frustration. Isn't that because you'll get kidnapped if you go out on your own? Well, you got kidnapped too, she snapped back. She was right. I was kidnapped because I had been accompanying Eris, but it was also true that I was seen as part of the Grey Rat family. It was possible someone might try it again to demand a ransom for me. But if I get kidnapped, I can get back home on my own, I cackled in triumph, only for her to raise her fist like she was going to hit me. I quickly moved to protect myself, but the punch never came. That was unusual. She crossed her arms over her chest and glared at me. I'm going too! She would usually make such a declaration only after hitting me, but apparently she decided not to use violence this time. That meant she had matured some. A small, almost insignificant amount, but at least there was some progress. All right then, let's go. Really? Of course, I had no reason to refuse her. Plus, safety in numbers and all that. Ghislaine's coming too, right? I asked. Yes. It's my duty to protect the young mistress. Even during our meeting, Ghislaine didn't seem to understand the concept of having a day off. I suggested she just stick to Eris like she always did. She was originally hired to be a bodyguard after all, so there should be no problem with that. Wait, I'll be ready in just a sec. Alphonse! Alphonse! I watched as Eris ran off, dashing noisily through the manor. Her voice was just as loud as ever. Rudius, Ghislaine said. As I turned my head, she was right there beside me. I had to crane my neck to look up at her. She was almost 2 meters tall, so even as a full-grown adult, I would probably still be looking up at her. Don't overestimate your abilities, she warned. This was probably about me saying I could escape getting kidnapped on my own. I know, I was just trying to motivate her a little. All right, but if something happens, call me. I'll help you. Yeah, if I need something, I'll give you a big fireworks show again. Talking about it stirred a memory. Did you tell the young mistress to do the same thing? Call for you? Huh? I did. What of it? Next time, you might want to clarify that she should only do it when she's somewhere you can hear her, I said. Okay, but why? Because when we got kidnapped, she almost got killed because she kept screaming for you. If I had heard her, I would have rescued her. Huh. Well, she had been ridiculously fast when she came to save us. She was there within a minute of me shooting off those fireworks. So long as we were in earshot, I was sure she would come, no matter where that was. Her hearing seemed pretty good, too. After all, it was Ghislaine who Eris called out to, not Philip or Soros. She was reliable. You need to teach her that there are times when you can't scream. Eris returned, and the conversation ended there. I wasn't sure if she was dressing up to go out or not, but she was wearing an outfit I had never seen before. You look lovely today. She punched me in the head when I complimented her. What the hell was that about? The Fatoa region's citadel of Roa was one of the biggest cities in the area, but big was a relative term. It was still smaller than the expanse of countryside that made up Buena Village. If you walked the perimeter of the outer wall, you could probably circle the entire thing in 2 hours. Still, it was of considerable size for a city. The walls themselves were about 7 to 8 meters tall and wrapped around the entirety of Roa. That said, the city wasn't a perfect circle. It bent with the terrain, so I wasn't sure of its exact dimensions, but it probably covered about 30 square meters. Not that big from a Japanese person's perspective, yet I could tell creating walls this size was no simple feat. There had to be some sort of magic to build walls like this, probably king tier or imperial tier. Or perhaps they made a broad outline with stone and filled in the rest with manual labor. I considered all this as we made our way through the upper class residential area and into the crowded plaza. From here, we were headed to the mercantile district. All the shops near the noble district were posh, and even the street stalls here and there were peddling expensive wares. "Hey, young master and miss, take your time and look around." An old man running a shop selling second-hand wares called out to us, using a line lifted straight out of an RPG. I peered at what he had on display, taking notes on the products and their prices. Frankly, he was selling some rather questionable things. Who would even buy this stuff? I thought. Wait, an aphrodisiac is 10 gold coins? Gotta write this down. What are those weird letters? I can't read them. My eardrums rang as Eris's voice blasted them. I turned and found her face awfully close to mine. She had been reading over my shoulder. Up close, I realized how cute she was. Her features were very evenly set. My memo, by the way, was written in Japanese. "Tell me what you're writing down." She was being overbearing, but I had no reason not to tell her. "I'm writing down the product names and prices." "What are you going to do with that information?" "Comparing market prices is one of the fundamentals of online games," I replied. "Online? What the heck?" She wouldn't be able to understand even if I explained, so I instead pointed to one of the wares on display. It was a small accessory. "Okay, look at that. The last stall was selling that piece for 5 gold coins. This place is selling it for 4 gold coins and 5 silver ones." The owner chimed in. "Oh, young master, you have a good eye. Our stuff is cheap, yeah?" I ignored the old man and turned back to Eris. "So, if you talked down this shop into selling this to you for 3 gold coins, and took it back to the other shop and sold it for 4, how much would you make?" "Huh? 5 minus 3 plus 6 gold coins." What the heck kind of math was that? Bzzzt, incorrect. The correct answer is 1 gold coin. Yeah, I knew that." She turned away with a pout on her lips. "Really? So, if you had 10 gold coins from the start, now you'd have 11, right?" "Oh, hey, she actually did it for once." Wait, no, she just added one more in there. Oh well, it was better to praise and encourage her, especially with how much pride she had. "Oh, this time you're correct. Wow, very smart, Eris." As if there was ever any doubt." The old man listened in on our conversation with a bitter look on his face. "Young mister, That's called reselling. Not something people look too kindly upon, so you'd better not try it. Of course, if I were looking to make money, I would go to that other store and tell them you're selling 4 gold pieces. That kind of information should be enough to net me 1 large copper, right? His expression soured. He looked behind us to the Ghislaine for help, but she was listening with interest. The old man slumped and sighed as if he realized that anything he said would be pointless. Sorry, I apologized, but only in my head. I hoped he wouldn't linger on it too much. I was only teasing. Anyway, I said, even if you don't plan to buy anything, it's still important to know the prices of things. And what are you going to do with that knowledge? For example, you can calculate how much you will spend without even going to a shop. And how's that supposed to be useful? How is that supposed to be? Well, if you're going to resell it, then you can figure out about how much. Wait. No, in times like this, it was best to just leave things to Ghislaine. Why do you think it would be useful, Ghislaine? No idea. Wait, seriously? She didn't know? I thought she would. Well, whatever. It wasn't like this was a lesson anyways. All right, then. Maybe it's not that useful after all. The information was for my own use anyway. It was fine if they didn't understand. Whenever I was in a marketplace, the first thing I did was compare prices. That was how I always did things in online games, and there was no reason to change that now. This, despite the fact that I'd never done it before in this life and didn't know for sure if there were actually any value in it. If you don't know if it's useful or not, why do it? Because I think it will be useful. Her face made it clear she didn't like my answer. It's not like I can answer every question you have. Try to think for yourself a little bit. Give it some thought, I said. If you think it's useful, then you should do it too. If you think it's useless, then point and laugh. Then I picked laugh. And why the heck are you laughing? She punched me. Sad face. We looped around the area, and I finished taking inventory of all the stalls. I skipped the popular shops since I knew everything would be too expensive. Instead, we headed towards the outer part of the city. Just a short walk away, the shop wares changed completely. The prices were dramatically lower, too. Down from 5 gold coins to 1. Still expensive. Not something I can afford, I thought. There were more people here, ranging from nobles to adventurers based on their appearance. Even the shop owners seemed livelier as they hawked their wares. Perhaps because 1 gold coin was just on the highest end of affordability. A store caught my eye as I was taking notes. A bookstore, to be exact. I decided to wander inside. It was deserted, like the general section of an adult bookstore. There were 2 bookcases, volumes of the same title lined up in 2s and 3s. Each book cost around 1 gold coin. In the remaining space was a locked case with rows of books inside. These were about 8 gold pieces a volume, the most expensive being 10 gold pieces. The stores featured products, I assumed. The store owner took one look at me and yawned as though dismaying my potential as a customer. Their gaze turned suspicious as I began noting down all the titles I saw on their shelves. They were probably concerned I was trying to copy the contents of the book. I stepped away from the bookshelves, hoping it would send a message. Don't worry, I'm not touching your books. I'm not going to copy anything. I glanced inside the locked case and noticed a book I had seen before. Plant Dictionary, 10 gold coins, I read aloud. It was the same book Zenith had given to me on my 5th birthday. Expensive, I thought. If 1 gold coin was 10,000 yen, that meant this book was 70,000 yen? My mom must have gone really overboard to buy that. It seemed dictionaries really were expensive. I would have loved to read Sig's summoning magic, but it was 10 gold coins. On a salary of 2 silver coins a month, there was no way I could afford that. The most expensive book was Ceremonies of Asura's Royal Palace's Imperial Court. Definitely didn't need that. What are you looking at so eagerly? It was Eris's voice. She had apparently followed me inside at some point. She must have noticed me looking at the book titles without taking any notes. Oh, nothing, just thinking that there wasn't much here of interest. Oh, that's right. I heard you like books, don't you? Eris asked. Who did you hear that from? My father. Philip, huh? Well, I did ask him to show me his library, after all. If you really want one that bad, I could buy it for you, she offered. You say that so easily, but you don't have any money, do you? Grandfather will pay for it. That's what I figured. She was just going to let him spoil her again. I needed to make her understand that money was a limited resource. Oh, but I want that book. I really want that book, I thought. I don't need it. And why not? She was pouting again. It was the expression she wore whenever she was in a bad mood. If that mood got any worse, her face would turn demonic and she would punch me. Right now, I was still safe, as she still had some reason left. That's not money you can use for whatever you want. What are you saying? Her brows knitted. She was growing increasingly irritable because she didn't understand. I could almost see her anger bar as it filled up. How best to explain this? Was there even any point in teaching the daughter of a noble family how to use money? Well, why not? Do you know how much I make every month for teaching you? About 5 gold pieces? 2 silver pieces, I said. That's too little, she yelled. The shop owner's face puckered in annoyance at the noise. Sorry, I thought. No, that's fair pay, considering I'm young and I didn't have any qualifications. Besides, they were also going to foot the tuition for me to attend the University of Magic. But Ghislaine gets 5 gold coins, and you're teaching me a lot of things too. But Ghislaine has qualifications, and she has the title of Sword King. She also doubles as your bodyguard. It makes sense that her pay would be higher. Plus, a part of her high pay was probably thanks to the Boreas Grey Rat family's unsavory traditions. They seemed like they'd give preferential treatment to female beast folk. Then what about me? You can't do magic or swordplay. You have no qualifications. So no matter how inflated your pay was, 1 gold coin would be the limit. More to the point, she wasn't given any spending money in the first place. If you want to buy something for someone, please do it once you have earned the money to pay for it yourself. Okay, I understand. She wore a rare look of utter defeat on her face. This sort of lecture usually meant nothing to her. Well, I'll see if I can talk Philip into at least giving you some money to spend when we get back." "Really?" Her head jerked up. I could almost feel her affection meter rising. Well, buying her whatever she wanted without letting her handle the money was just spoiling her. It was better for them to give her a little money and let her learn how to use it. I noted down the name of that book that caught my eye, and we left the store. After today, I had a good understanding of what I wanted to buy and how much things cost. The sky was a beautiful mix of red and orange, and we headed back home. It seemed the sunset didn't change, no matter what world I was in. Just as I thought that, I looked up, only to see a floating castle. It hung among the clouds, faint but present. "Whoa!" Surprised, I pointed upward. Those around me briefly peered up, only to immediately lose interest. Huh? Couldn't they see it? Was it just me? Was I the only one who could see Laputa? The castle in the sky? Was my dad a liar? "Is this your first time seeing it?" "That's the armored dragon King Perugius's floating fortress," Ghislaine explained. "Little late with the information, but better late than never." I mean, come on, Ghislaine. Anyway, a floating fortress, huh? That's pretty awesome. And Perugius is... You know that, don't you? Felt like I had heard that name before, but I couldn't remember. Who is he again? Ghislaine looked slightly surprised as she tried to find the words to explain. But Eris didn't give her the opportunity. She darted in front of me and crossed her arms over her chest, legs hips width apart. "Allow me to teach you." "Please, do teach me." "Very well." She puffed up with pride. "Perugius is one of the 3 legendary heroes who defeated the demon god Laplace." The demon god Laplace. Now where had I heard that name before? "He's incredibly strong. He took command of 12 men, and with his floating fortress, marched into Laplace's stronghold." "Oh yeah? That's amazing," I said. "Isn't it?" "You're quite knowledgeable about this, young mistress. Thank you." She cackled. "You still have a long way to go, Rudius." I knew better than to question her and get myself punched again. Instead, I looked it up after we got back to the manor. When I asked Philip about it, he said they had a book on the subject lying around somewhere. Before I could ask him for it, he had already directed the butler to retrieve the volume for me. I was sorry for making him go through all the trouble, because the book was one I had seen at my house back in Buena Village. The Legend of Perugius. I had passed it off as nothing more than a fairy tale, but it seemed it was historical fact. Its contents could be summarized as thus. The armored dragon King Perugius. No one knew where he was born or raised. The oldest record of him came from his younger days before he was famous, when the dragon god Urupin dragged him along to the Adventurers Guild. He showed such strength that in no time the dragon god Urupin, the North god Kalman, and the twin empress Migus and Gumus formed a party with him. They crushed every opponent they faced. Thanks in part to his brotherly bond with Urupin, Perugius was written into history as the armored dragon and as one of the 5 dragon commanders of the dragon god. He displayed the magnificence of his power in the battle against Laplace. Perugius, made use of his greatest strength, summoning magic, to call forth 12 familiars. Void, dark, bright, surge, life, violent earthquake, time, roaring thunder, destruction, insight, insanity, and atonement. These were the aliases of the strongest familiars, the ones he manipulated. With them, Perugius restored the old flying fortress Chaos Breaker and headed into the final battle against Laplace. Yet all that power was not enough to completely destroy the demon god, forcing Perugius to settle for sealing him away instead. Still, the strength and imposing appearance of Chaos Breaker in the sky was enough for people to call him the Armored Dragon King. The kingdom of Asura praised him for his achievements, and with the end of that war, proclaimed the start of a new era. This was the current era, the Armored Dragon era. Right now, it was year 414 of the Armored Dragon era. The Armored Dragon King Perugius did not rule or reign over anything. He simply hovered over the world in his floating fortress Chaos Breaker. No one knew his true intentions. More importantly, it had been 400 years. Was the guy even still alive? Wasn't it just an empty castle floating around in the sky now? That said, if the opportunity ever presented itself, I would be eager to check it out myself. The next day found Eris in an absolutely horrendous mood. Perhaps it was because she'd had her first taste of an entire day of freedom. Or perhaps because she had never been allowed outside the posh shops until now. Either way, letting her have a day of rest was definitely a good idea. "I demand you take me again." Her arms were folded, legs planted firmly apart. It was the same pose she always used, but this time her cheeks were tinged red. What kind of blush was it this time? An angry one or an embarrassed one? Maybe she was feeling shy. No, there was no way that was possible. This was Eris we were talking about. I hesitated to answer. She gritted her teeth. Then she took a fistful of hair in both hands and thrust her hips back. "Please take me with you. Meow." "Yes, I will. I will take you with me, so stop that," I demanded in a panic. It was certainly cute, I admit, but not good for my heart. Felt like bad karma was building up every time she did that. Bad karma that would resolve itself with a fist to my face. "Huh, as long as you understand." Eris sent her hair fluttering and plonked back into her seat before the hip-length locks had time to settle. "Now, continue your lesson." "Looks like you're feeling motivated today." "Because I know you'll say you won't take me if I don't behave myself." Since when had she gotten this smart? "That's right. I'll take you as long as you behave yourself." Impressed, I started on the lesson for that day. Name, Eris B. Greyrat. Occupation, grandfather of Fatoa's liege lord. Personality, a little violent. Does listen to what people have to say. Reading and writing, quite adept at reading. Arithmetic, can subtract higher numbers. Magic, studying the basics. Fencing, sword god style, beginner tier. Etiquette, can do a normal greeting. People she likes, grandfather, Ghislaine.